Hey, bold and the beautiful fans. Here is your early weekly spoilers for June 8th through the 12th, and oh my goodness, do we have a packed week ahead for you. We've got Thomas Forrester making a move that nobody is going to see coming, plus Liam Spencer getting caught between two worlds yet again, because honestly, when is that man not? And Steffi Forrester is about to reach a boiling point that has been a long time coming. It's me, and before we get into all of the delicious drama lined up for next week, please hit that subscribe button right now if you haven't already, because you do not want to miss a single update. And as always on early edition day, we're going to start with what happens the rest of this week first, and then we will get into what is ahead for the week of June 8th through the 12th. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. On Wednesday, June 3rd, we have got Logan absolutely beside herself after she gets some very unexpected news about what has been happening behind closed doors over at Forrester Creations. Now look, Brooke has always had her nose in everybody else's business, and today is no different. But this time she actually has a reason to be rattled. Someone she trusted has been feeding information to people she considers enemies, and when she figures out who it is, things are going to get very uncomfortable very fast. I think what makes this interesting is that Brooke has been trying so hard to play the peacemaker lately, trying to keep the peace with Ridge, trying to be gracious with Steffi, trying not to rock the boat. And now she's going to feel like her good intentions were taken advantage of, and that is going to send her in an entirely different direction. So watch for Brooke to go from 0 to 100 pretty quickly on Wednesday, and honestly, good for her. She's been holding it together for too long. Meanwhile, Thomas is having a very loaded conversation with someone from his past, and I have a feeling this is setting up something much bigger for the weeks ahead. Thomas has been surprisingly restrained lately, which, if you've been watching this show for any length of time, you know that never lasts. The moment Thomas starts looking calm and collected and like he's turned over a new leaf, that is precisely when you should start watching him most closely. And I think Wednesday is going to give us the first real crack in that composed exterior. Some fans on soap social media have been saying they think Thomas is actually genuinely changed, and you know what, I get it, they've been writing him that way for a stretch now. But I am not buying it completely, and I think by the end of this week we're going to see why. There's something brewing there, and Wednesday is the first hint we get. Thursday, June 4th, brings us a confrontation between Ridge and Taylor that has been simmering quietly in the background for weeks now. Ridge has been walking this very delicate tightrope between the Logan world and the Forrester world, as he always does, as he will probably do until the show ends its run, because that is just who Ridge Forrester is as a character. But Taylor is not going to let him keep straddling that line indefinitely. She's had just about enough of the wishy-washy, and on Thursday she is going to make her position extremely clear. Now, whether Ridge actually listens is a whole other story, and I think we all already know the answer to that one. But the conversation itself is going to be really charged, really emotional, and Taylor is not going to hold back. And I think part of what makes this hit different is that Taylor genuinely believed things had shifted. She came back to Los Angeles thinking the dynamics had changed, thinking she had a real shot, and now she's watching the same old patterns play out again, and it's breaking her heart a little bit. Also on Thursday, we're going to see Logan dealing with some internal conflict about where her loyalties actually lie. Because Hope has always been one of those characters who wants everyone to just get along, who wants to find the middle ground, who wants to believe the best in everybody, and sometimes that quality is her greatest strength, and sometimes it is absolutely her Achilles heel. Right now it is the latter. She's caught between her mother and the life she's built at Forrester Creations, and she's starting to feel the weight of that in a very real way. I also wonder if we're going to see Liam try to make some kind of gesture toward Hope this week, something that he thinks is grand and meaningful, and whether Hope receives it the way he intends or whether it just complicates things further. Because with Liam it always complicates things further. That is basically his superpower. Friday, June 5th, is where things really start to escalate, and I want you guys to clear your schedules because this episode sounds like a lot. We've got Steffi Forrester reaching that boiling point I mentioned at the top, and it is directed squarely at someone she has been tolerating for too long. Now, Steffi has never been one to hide her feelings, but she's been showing unusual restraint lately, trying to keep things professional, trying to keep the focus on Forrester Creations and the business, trying not to let personal grievances bleed into the workplace. And on Friday, all of that patience completely runs out. What I find really compelling about this storyline is that Steffi genuinely feels like she is fighting for something she built, something she poured herself into, and she does not understand why people keep trying to undermine it. Whether you're Team Steffi or not, and I know that's a real divide in this fandom, you have to appreciate that her passion for the company is real. The frustration is real. And on Friday, it is going to pour out in a way that is going to make for an absolutely wild episode. We're also going to see Carter Walton getting pulled into some drama he really did not sign up for, and honestly, Carter is one of those characters who keeps getting dragged into other people's messes, and he handles it with such grace every single time. But there are limits, and this week might push up against those limits for him in a pretty significant way. I've seen some chatter on soap forums about where Carter's storyline is headed, and I think Friday gives us a pretty big clue. Pay close attention to who he's talking to and what he chooses not to say out loud, because sometimes on this show the silences tell you more than the dialogue. And then heading into the week of June 8th through the 12th, buckle up, because we are in for a ride. First of all, Liam Spencer is going to be forced into making a decision that he has been avoiding for a very long time, and I know what you're thinking. Liam making a decision, really? Is that even something that is physiologically possible for him at this point? And look, I hear you, I really do. But circumstances are going to align in a way that genuinely backs him into a corner, and this time there is no wiggle room. There is no third option. There is no way to keep both doors open simultaneously. He is going to have to choose, and the consequences of that choice are going to ripple through multiple storylines for weeks, possibly months. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The writers have a real opportunity here to let Liam be decisive in a way that feels earned and real, and I really hope they take it. Fingers crossed, Thomas is going to drop a bombshell that completely shifts the dynamic at Forrester Creations, and I want to be careful about how much I say here, because I don't want to spoil everything, but what I can tell you is that this is not a minor development. This is a this changes everything kind of moment, and the fallout is going to touch almost every major character in the canvas. The interesting thing about Thomas's bombshell is that it's not necessarily driven by malice, at least not on the surface. It might actually appear to come from a place of wanting to do the right thing, which honestly makes it more complicated and more interesting than if he were just being villainous. When Thomas is purely scheming, he's entertaining, but when his motives are genuinely mixed, that's when he becomes really fascinating to watch. Steffi and Hope are going to have another head-to-head during the week of June 8th, and at this point their dynamic has become one of the most compelling rivalries on daytime television, and I will die on that hill. These two women have been circling each other for so long, and there's such a history there, such a complicated mixture of genuine animosity and grudging respect and shared connection through the men in their lives, that every conversation between them carries an enormous amount of weight. What's interesting about this particular confrontation is that it apparently doesn't start as a fight. It starts almost civilly. And it's precisely because they begin on almost reasonable terms that things deteriorate so spectacularly. Sometimes the most explosive arguments are the ones that start with both people trying to be calm and mature. We are also going to get some movement on the Ridge and Brooke versus Ridge and Taylor front, obviously, because when is that not a factor on this show? And I think the week of June 8th brings us to a moment where Ridge is going to have to actually examine what he wants instead of just reacting to whoever is in front of him. Now, I've been burned by believing Ridge was capable of genuine self-reflection before, so take that with a grain of salt. But something about the way this is being set up feels different. The circumstances are putting him in a position where passive indecision is no longer an option, and that is new territory for this character in a way that could be really interesting. And speaking of interesting, keep your eyes on the younger generation this week, because there is a lot cooking there that is going to have long-term consequences. RJ is going to find himself in over his head in a situation that started out innocently enough but has escalated quickly, and I think this is the week where we start to see him genuinely grapple with the fact that the choices he's been making are not without cost. He's been acting like everything is a game, and reality is about to introduce itself pretty firmly. The Will versus RJ situation continues to smolder, and Electra is right in the middle of all of it, and I feel genuinely bad for her because she is trying to navigate something that would be difficult even for a far more experienced person. Dylan is going to continue being the supportive best friend that honestly every character on this show wishes they had, and I love that she keeps being the voice of reason in situations where everyone else has completely lost the plot. Also, during the week of June 8th, we're going to get some clarity on a storyline that has been moving very slowly and that I know a lot of you have been frustrated with, and I think patience is going to be rewarded here. Not going to say more than that because I want the reveal to land the way it's supposed to, but just know that if you've been hanging in there waiting for something to actually happen, your wait is almost over. There is also going to be a really emotional scene involving a legacy character that I think is going to catch a lot of viewers off guard. This show has been doing a good job lately of weaving in moments of genuine feeling amidst all the scheming and backstabbing, and this one sounds like it's going to be a standout. Have your tissues ready. That is all I am going to say about that. Thank you so much for being a loyal listener and for spending this time with me going through all the drama and all the twists headed our way on Bold and the Beautiful. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts because new episodes drop regularly and you never want to fall behind on your spoilers. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Leave us a review if you're enjoying the show, and we will see you back here very soon for more Bold and the Beautiful spoiler coverage.